This is another Turbine Guy Network special investigative report. Guy coming back at you out at North Shore Marina behind me here. And I'm going to be not only here, but a couple other places to help you understand the three people who form the PAC Preserve Orono, which is the furthest from the truth, and we'll find that out. The three people who form that have their own personal agenda behind the scenes. But let's look at each one of them. And we're going to start out with Richie Anderson, who owns North Shore Marina here. Now, Richie Anderson, from what I understand, is the one who turned in Nancy, the dock lady, for wanting to rent out a dock space to pay her taxes. Behind me here, you can see the evil dock that the city of Orono and Hennepin County in the state of Minnesota had to prosecute in order to protect the city of Orono. In other words, Orono Mayor Walsh's agenda to clear the old people out so they can build back bigger. You saw it there. Mr. Anderson couldn't handle an elderly lady in this community wanting to pay her taxes and stay, and was so doggone greedy, since he rents out the marina spaces back here, that he felt he had to turn her in, and boom, she went through that prosecution we discussed, and thankfully she survived unscathed. Now, you really have to ask yourself, what kind of person would literally turn in a grandma in order to have her criminally prosecuted over dock rental? Well, apparently it's Richie Anderson of North Shore Marina. That's who. This brings us to spot number 2 right behind me. This is owned by Greg Steinhoff, and he donated $10,000 himself. Steinhoff owns right behind me here 4 properties across from the Lake Minnetonka Center for the Arts, and these are about 70 acres or so. That's a lot of land in such a rich community. And the real question is, why would the former CEO of Target want to donate to such a negative ad campaign for all this beautiful land right behind us? Well, I can tell you why. That one's pretty simple. For the money. The guy wants to make a ton of dough off of this land right here, and he sees Walsh as his best avenue. And you know what? $10,000, that's nothing compared to how much he's going to make when he completely redevelops this into a high-density area. Now, let's not forget this former Target CEO was completely against helping teenage girls with anorexia in our community, and didn't want a building up here because of all the crime he feared. As if these girls suffering from their mental disabilities would be breaking into his house and stealing his food or something. Not forget, Walsh doesn't care about the environment of the lake. We've seen that. They've removed all tree protections within 0.75 feet of the lake shore, and they've done other things that harm our environmental community. And I can just about guarantee you that's why this guy's supporting Walsh, because he don't want no environmental impact study on this pristine area right next to the lake. He just wants his money. Now at the house of the third donator to this PAC Preserve Orono, Mark Croll. If you look here, you can see over on Tonkoa Drive, he donated 10 grand himself. And believe it or not, I just had a super interesting discussion with his wife. She was pulling in while I was here. She's like, "What are you doing?" So, I'm filming a video about this. And I explained all that's going on. And it turns out that Mrs. Croll over here is on our side. At least to the extent that she thinks all of this negativity going on in this election sucks and it's terrible. When I pointed out that, hey, your husband's in on it, I got him right here in a $10,000 donation. She's like, "I don't believe it." I'm like, "Look and see." And she's like, "Oh, well, I don't know. I'm going to have to talk to him." You know, she didn't know or not, and I don't blame her. Because who would want to be involved with all this negativity going on in local elections? Now, we parted on good terms, and I'm telling you, I'm offering Mr. Croll here. If you want to come and sit for an interview with the Turbine Guy, I'll be as respectful to you as I was to your wife. And you yourself can explain to the people why you support Dennis Walsh and answer some questions I have about the true character of Mr. Walsh. Interesting as well, Mr. Croll's a graduate at the University of Minnesota, just like the Turbine Guy, one of my alum, and he's actually got a doctorate degree in electrical engineering. At least that's what I read. It goes to show what I knew when I was sitting in classes for all of these years and got my degree, is that no matter how smart you are, they still can't teach common sense. So I'm challenging you, Mr. Croll, come on out and talk to the turbine guy, and let's see if we can't have a real discussion. Now that all aside, one has to wonder why this preserve Orono is even named preserve Orono. It's to fool you. It's not to preserve anything. It's to make people money. I don't know if this guy's in it for the money. His wife was very nice. Definitely agree with what the lady of the house says here. And I'm going to challenge Mr. Croll here to withdraw his funds and maybe participate in some positive campaigning instead of negativity. Well, I'll tell you, all this negativity going on in this election, especially from Walsh's side, is pretty disgusting. And the characters that are putting money into it, and they think that's how we should resolve our issues in a quiet community like Orono, really need to rethink it themselves. Turbine Guy, signing off.